But the son, when he comes, he asks mom to reimburse him for any money he spent on food while he's there.
Oh
And
my,
I was like, really? Like you get Subway and he gives like he turns in receipts for coming down. And I thought, boy, when my
oh my
mom was
God.
here and my dad had passed, I was grocery shopping and she'd go, well, here, let me. And I'm like, I don't want your money, mom.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Cynthia Tant here in Pensacola, Florida. And I have the great pleasure of introducing Robbyn Battles to you today. And Robbyn is the Vice President of JohnHart Real Estate. She's coming from California, and she's a veteran real estate professional with decades of industry experience, which we both have in common. Specializes in the senior home transitions, trust sales, and inherited property transactions, helping families navigate the complex real estate situations with clarity and strategy. Robbyn is recognized among the RealTrends top 1% of agents nationwide and also hosts her podcast, I'm Just Sayin, where she shares insights on housing, community issues, and the real estate industry. So, welcome, Robbyn.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Coast to
That's
coast. I love it.
Coast to coast is true. And we talked a lot about beaches and everything. And so, Robbyn, tell our audience, tell the ladies that are listening here a little bit about you, what you do. And we're going to concentrate a little bit about that senior home transitions today.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty simple. I grew up in the real estate business. My parents had their own company. And so since I was 9 years old, I did real estate. I helped in the office and I just grew with the company. And when they got out of owning the company, I took over. They built custom homes. And 7 years ago, I decided I didn't want to run the company anymore. My parents had long retired. And now I focus on one thing, and that is clients. And a huge 95% of my business, just by happenstance, is retirees, seniors, trust sales where it's an inherited property. And I love that clientele. And so I had, going backward just a little bit, when my dad got sick, I saw how he was treated, and then my mom got really sick, and I saw how she was treated. And I'm like, there's got to be something better. And out of that situation, I started a nonprofit for seniors to get better information to our seniors, and then kind of parlayed that into my business. And that's what got me started with really focusing on the senior clientele. I do everything, but my real passion is my clients that are seniors and their families. And, it's not, I have clients that I've been talking to for 10 years, for 2 years, for 6 months, and they're all different situations. And I'm a planner. So I love the planning. I love sitting down with the client. I have a client right now, and the biggest, and you're going to think this is funny, and it is a little bit, but this is a typical getting ready to sell a senior house. She's moving to South to North Carolina, and her biggest issue is how much furniture she's going to take. And she got the bill for moving, and it's $17,000 for her to take all
Boy,
of her
that's
stuff and move to North
yeah,
Carolina.
yeah.
Crazy.
Mhm.
And so getting her to understand that it's going to be cheaper for her to just leave most of her stuff and move and buy new furniture, that those are conversations I have all the time. So it's not just about the home value, the fixing up of the house. It's like, how do we get everything you're concerned with packaged up, organized, put you on a, I'm a calendar person. Every client of mine has a calendar. It's planned out from the first meeting through the closing and everything in between, down to what furniture you're going to keep, who's responsible for doing what. And they like knowing what's going to happen. So our big battle right now is she wants to take her huge Ethan Allen couch. Most people
Oh,
won't know what Ethan
and
Allen
she's
is, but you know what
yeah,
Ethan Allen is.
my mom's 95, like I told you, and we have an Ethan Allen couch.
Oh,
She
so
yeah.
so the argument every day for the past 2 weeks has been, I want to take my couch. And then the daughter gets in the middle of it and she's like, Mom, you don't need that couch. And then I'm on the couch and I'm saying, And I asked her, I said, so what did you pay for this couch
Oh God.
25 years ago? She goes, well, I paid $3,000 for that fabulous couch. And I said, okay, that's about $100 a year. It did what it needed to do. I said, but you're going to pay another $3,000 to cart it off to North Carolina. Don't you think you would like a new couch? So we've had this conversation, and finally I called the daughter yesterday and I said, just tell her that we're going to wrap up the couch and she's going to put it in the truck. I said, she's got an attachment to it. And you have to recognize working with seniors that it's not just a piece of furniture, it's almost like their security blanket. And so
Isn't even Alan out of North Carolina? We have great furniture
you
companies around in North Carolina.
North Carolina is the furniture capital of the
I
USA. And
know.
I'm like, you know where you're going. You could get all of this and
Yeah,
you're paying more to move it. But at some point,
right.
you just have to, I'm going to say it, you have to give them a win. And
Yeah,
her win is just let her have her couch because
much.
she's not doing anything else we need her to do.
Right.
So those are conversations I have all day long. And so I'm walking through properties and I'm bringing my stager and, and what this does is it keeps them from getting overwhelmed. And it
Really?
might, yeah, I mean, and it might be 5 meetings, it could be 10 meetings. I had one client about 3 weeks ago. It was four meetings just for them to finally decide that they were going to hire me. And I was like, okay, I don't know what else to tell you. So I looked at them and they were a referral from someone in
Right.
the neighborhood. And I said, I'm just going to be honest with you. If you don't hire me, I'm just going to cry. Because, and the point of that is this clientele is looking at your character.
Yep.
They're listening to what you say, but that was a real moment for them. I mean, I wasn't really going to cry. I mean, maybe in the car, but
Yeah.
they want to know that you're in it and that
Right.
you've got their back. And by sitting there with, like, I walk in, I don't have a big presentation. I, I've been here for over 38 years.
Yeah.
I kind of know the community,
Right.
and you ask me a question. That's
Yeah.
just stories.
No,
Like
no, 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 no. It's good
I could
because
all day
those
long.
experiences. Everyone a long time ago when I first got into sales, I had someone say, "Facts tell, but stories sell." And so
100%.
I'm a storyteller. My agents, they go, God, Cindy, you have more stories for everything. I said, that's because I've done a lot, and
Well,
just sharing those stories so that people understand that you understand where they're coming from. My own background, I'm a funeral director's dad. I lived in a funeral home. So it's like full circle. And then I've got a mom who's 95,
that's
who's
great.
caring for at home. And I tease people because everyone in my family, the women live to be there in their 90s to hundreds, and the men are somewhere around 65 and 70. So I know I have a 30 more years to go, so we tease about it, but I'm understanding too from an age perspective and going like you went through with your parents. And especially how long were your parents married?
Oh my gosh, they were married 50. Let's see, my it's weird because my in-laws were married a year longer, have been married a year longer than when my parents would have been married. So when my dad passed, they had been married 49 years. So, I
Wow.
mean, and yeah, my mom is still with us. My mom actually lives in
Well,
North
that's
Carolina with my brother
fantastic.
now.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
so but you said something interesting, and that is you have a lot of experience, so you have a lot of stories. And what younger agents forget, and this could be with seniors, it could be with any of your clientele, you have experiences that have happened to you. And if you're not sharing that story in a bragging way, saying like, oh, well, I
Oh,
earned
yeah.
this award and I've done all
Yeah.
of these houses,
They don't care
you,
about the money and they sell this. They don't
yeah.
want that. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, very few clients care about that.
Yeah.
The client wants to know what you're going to do for them. So if you take your experiences and you share them and make it about them, it's like what you're telling me now sounds like this client over here. or that sounds like when this happened. You get their attention and they don't connect because you did it. They connect because they identify with a piece of the story, which is very different.
And it's different, like the older population. And in our area, we do wear shorts and flip-flops, so because of being on the beach and everything. But I'm
Yeah.
not going to show up with my shorts and flip-flops to an older person's house, because they're going to expect me to be a little bit more professionally dressed to come talk to them and
Yes.
stuff. Now later I may wear a hat or something, and they always comment about something like that. But it's like, also, I'm not going to wear a dress, because they're going to go, "What's wrong with you?" Because of the area, but it's just kind of relating to them, or because of being the age of their children, that we're trying to relate that also to them. So if they're
Yeah.
in their 80s or 90s and now being in our 60s, 50s, or 60s, and we're relate, we can understand. What's kind of the
Yeah.
craziest thing that's ever happened with you with a family? I know it's got to come down to the children. I mean, other than the couch that you just
Um,
talked about, but I had
oh
a large,
gosh.
I'll tell you mine later after you got a story.
Okay. Oh gosh, there's been so many. I find that when it comes to the children, uh, I can give you life that's happening right now.
Adults like us. Yeah.
Adult children, yeah, not the little children, not no no,
No,
not the little kids, but the
no.
adult children.
15, 16 adult
Yeah,
children.
happening as we speak. So the daughter is the caretaker, lives with the mom. The son pops in every 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
and the son doesn't want to pay for anything, and he doesn't want mom to sell the house because he wants to inherit the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just going to leave that right there. But the son, when he comes, he asks mom to reimburse him for any money he spent on food while he's there.
Oh
And
my,
and I was like, really? Like you get Subway and he gives like he turns in receipts for coming down. And I thought, boy, when my
oh my
mom was
God.
here and my dad had passed, I mean, I was grocery shopping and and
Yeah.
I would, and she'd go, well, here, let me, and I'm like, I don't want your money, mom. Here's your
Yeah.
groceries. What else do you need? And,
Yeah.
that in my brain, that's just how you are. So I found that rather odd. And I was like, wow. And, you have to sit there and be, sometimes my face will tell be a little give on what
Right.
I'm thinking. But you just have to sit there and you really have no opinion. And it's just like, well, but when he comes, is that good for you? Does that help you?
Right.
And then the daughter chimes in. And so it is, you're kind of like this. Sometimes you're a little bit like the ringmaster trying to keep everybody, and it's really the herding of the cats and getting them back on the same page. And I find with the kids of, the mom or the dad or both, that they kind of seem to want to tell mom and dad what to do. And the approach I have is I want to know what you're talking about, like what's important about that. If you're saying, I don't want to move till May and they're yelling at me, and I said, so what happens in May? I want to know from them. And I have at some point put my hand up to the kids and said, hold on just a second. Please let me hear your mom. And that kind of brings the temperature down. And then mom feels like she's not being ganged up on. So the tension is 100% hearing what mom wants and then finding a path for me to get her what she wants and then keep moving things forward. I don't have, like some people use senior move managers as the
Right.
stopgap. I would do that if I had a really complicated move, but I enjoy the time I spend. I think that builds that stronger bond. So when you get to a point in a transaction and you really need them to make that hard decision, they're like, I mean, I hear this all the time. I trust you, Robyn. Tell me what you want me to do.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, it's not about what I want to do, it's what is
Right.
best for you. Always turn back to them. And
It's
they're
that
fun.
trust.
I
Yeah.
love the stories. I
Oh,
like
their
their stories.
stories. Yeah. Their
Yeah.
stories are crazy.
And some of the comments, I'm like, ooh, don't say that out loud too far
Yeah.
away. But they,
Basically, yeah, because of today's society or whatever, or be here in the South.
yeah.
Let me tell you a few things over
Yeah.
here in the South. That's like, You just said, you know,
Yeah, so it's
it
it's
was
it's
just
a fun clientele,
go
but
for it.
you
Yeah.
also have to understand that there was a report that came out the other day about California, and we are the amount of boomers that own property here that are not moving. People were really mad about this article because they were saying that the boomers are the roadblock to inventory increasing. And I was like,
Oh, because they're not
wow,
choosing
pardon
to
me?
leave their homes? Is that what they're saying? They're not
Because
choosing to
because
leave their
because they
homes.
have all of this equity and they have all,
Right.
we have Prop 13 here, so it caps their taxes from going up. And they're like, they should be selling, they shouldn't, and they're always after getting rid of Prop 13. Well, if you got rid of Prop 13 for a lot of our seniors, they would lose
They
first of
couldn't.
all, we don't
Yeah.
have a high inventory of senior housing here.
Hmm.
And you probably hear about it all the time because we're that lovely state with lots of taxes. We are a
Yeah.
beautiful state. I will tell you that. It
I
is
have friends.
beautiful here.
I love California. I have friends over there in
Yeah.
Sacramento, and I go, man, I think I may come over this way, because I'm
Yeah,
tired
no,
of it.
it's no hands down, it is a gorgeous state, but it is a very expensive state.
No, I
And
didn't.
just our utility bills alone right now, I think there's a place, City of Glendale, and it's right in the area that I work. They have done 5% 5% rate increases every 6 months, and they will until 2027.
Every
So, I
six
mean,
months. Oh my
so
gosh.
the average, so when my mom left, she was by herself. She had a little guest house, so she had a tenant. And just to give you an example, and I mean, when you're in your 70s, 80s, you use the heat a lot because you're cold.
Right.
And so you go into my mom's house, and my mom's house was always like 78 degrees. I'm like, I'm dying every time I go in. But her ut her utility bill for 2 months was averaging $1,200 to $1,400 every 2 months
For one person?
for one person.
Oh my
And
God.
that was before the rate increase. So some of these seniors, they have all this equity in their house, but there's no place for them to go in California. I mean, even though we've got this exchange of, being able to take your tax base with you, but the
Well,
utility costs are driving some seniors out here. It's sad.
well,
It's really
how
sad.
the cost then of going to assisted living or memory care is got to be astronomical then to
Uh,
be
Clients that I've had go there, 12 to $14,000 a month.
a month. Yeah,
And
ours is
I don't
about
know.
4 to 6. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of facilities for seniors. And if you read statistics, I think by 45, no, by 2040, 60% of the population will be 60 plus.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we're not building, and we're not, here we're building bike lanes and giving more bus routes and doing all of this climate change and all this stuff here in California. But what 80-year-old senior is going to get on a bus and
well,
ride down the hill? Right? I mean, we're
I
in the
was blown
hills up here.
in the hills too. I was blown away by the statistic that every day 10,000 people in the United States turn 65. I went, what? 10,000 people daily turn 65 in this because we're the baby boomers. It was so funny. I had a group
I
of,
do.
are you frozen? Okay. You were frozen for a little bit.
We
I had a
both
group
we
of,
both froze. I'm
I
like, ice
know.
age is happening here.
I said, I have a younger group of agents in here. They're in their 30s. Yeah, they're in their 30s. And I have a 21-year-old assistant she is so gung-ho about real estate. I go, at 21, I wasn't thinking about real estate. But you were because it was your family, but she's not
Yeah,
in
I mean,
any,
I got out of it. I was like, I don't want to do real estate. And
yeah.
then about at 22, I got into it, and by 24, I'd taken over the company. And so, but it was cool because I learned about building houses because I was on construction sites. So I have it. I have it from all different angles. I can help clients look at a house and give them enough advice to say, oh, sure, let's get the contractor in. But sure, I think you can pretty much do that with the house, or and to this day, my husband sells windows and doors, so he works with
Oh, wow.
architects and builders all the time. So it's
It
just,
was. But this is what I did. I said, well, do you know why there's so many baby boomers right now? They
Yeah.
had no clue. I said, there was a war and all the men were at war from World War. And so they go, oh, and all the men came back and had lots of babies. But
Well, and I
because they're
think
not a generation that would know that, because
that,
now they're not having families of 6 and 9 and, just having babies after babies, you know.
right.
And
And
they were
so I
so funny.
think that
They
they don't
go,
understand. Yeah, they don't understand. It's like when people, when you have people saying we need to have more babies, and they take it as that's not what women were made for. That's not the only thing they're good for. That's not what they're saying. So if
yeah.
you go back and you understand, it's that population that keeps growing and transitioning and taking over and caring for the family, and
A- And we're
it.
living longer. We're living a lot
Oh
longer than our
yeah.
previous generations. That's why there isn't enough space for all of us. So that's a
Well,
big problem.
it's so the senior market is huge. It's
Huge.
getting bigger. And the sad thing is that there's in every industry and every category, everyone says, "Oh, I'm going to work with seniors." You can't just go in, and it's not like working with the 40-year-old guy that's, selling his house. That
Yeah.
is all about his tech and all about quick and knows, he's on Zillow and he's on Redfin and he knows this tech and that tech. That is not who this clientele is. And it's long-term relationships, and
Right.
it's the people in my office are like, well, how are you getting all these listings? And I said, they're just long-term relationships.
Uh-huh.
Well, but I have to wait 10 years. And I said, yeah, for some of them, you might have to wait 10, 5 years. I have a client that I signed the other day, and I was the listing agent when they bought the house 25 years ago.
My very first client, best friends from the very first time, same thing. But they've had their kids have houses now, and we've bought or sold all during the time, different houses. And it's like, I think 10 houses have come out of this one family of buying and selling. And now they're getting ready to move out of the area, which I feel so bad. But the whole family has picked up and moved to Georgia. I said, what happened to Pensacola? So they all went up. But no,
Well,
the
and
relationships, and I don't think people understand. I think as realtors, we
Mhm.
are the cook and bottle washer and everything else, and the people don't really realize that until you really
House
talk to
cleaner.
people. House cle
Yeah.
Cleaning out stuff,
Yeah.
anything. And I was talking to another one of my investors today, and we were talking. I said, I've had gone into houses, and because I do investment properties and stuff, and I know we end up we've had, I don't know about you, but I've had children, grown children. They said we don't want anything, just get rid of it. I go, have you been to your parents' house? Do you know what's in your parents' house? Well, we'll go a few things, some jewelry, stuff like that, but they don't even go through it. I go, oh my God, really? I don't know
Yeah.
if that's happened
Well,
to you, but
and well, that happens. And then the other thing is they sit with their parents and they're like, you don't need that, mom. You don't need that. You don't need that. And so I'll tell you a story of what changed my entire mindset. Uh, This probably happened like 25 years ago. And the funny thing that this house I'm going to tell you about is actually just went on the market. And so the family had said, "Hey, can you help us, get it cleaned out?" And I'm like, "Oh, sure." And at that time, I had my own company, so I had staff. And so we went up and I said, "Do you want me to get a dumpster and have it delivered to the yard?" "Yeah, that would be great." And I said, "Would you like us to start in the garage?" And they said, "Yeah." So that's what we did. And we just started throwing everything into the dumpster because they said start in the garage. And they came back, and I got my what handed to me. You didn't sort, you just started throwing. That was my mom's fabric. I mean, I can remember the pieces down to the phone that had the big number so that mom could see how to dial, that they pulled out of the dumpster. And it's like that moment is etched in my brain as this is not stuff to
not to
some of
them.
the family and to them. These are their memories. This is how they lived their life. This is what gave them comfort. This was their security. And so when the kids come in and just tell mom, just get rid of it. It doesn't matter. You don't need all this china. And so this happened the other day, and the lady says, well, I've got this good china and I'm taking my china. And I said, well, how many sets of china do you have? And I'll share with you how many sets I have. And she goes, well, I said, how many place settings? She goes, I've got 12 place settings. I said, I've got 25. And I said, and when I go, I am not taking 25 place settings in China. No one ever uses it. What about you? And she goes, but mine's beautiful. And I said, mine too. I said, but how about this? I said, how many people, she's going to live with her daughter. And I said, what if you just packed 4 sets of China? And then when you have dinner, you've got enough for your daughter-in-law or your granddaughter and grandkids to come over. And she goes, okay, that's a great idea. But the kids are like, just throw it all out. You don't need it. And I'm like, they just because that makes them feel like they're going to be at home. And when you
Yeah.
start to recognize that, it becomes so much easier to deal with this clientele.
And I think putting them in knowing the longevity first off. And you walk into a
Mhm.
house, and the houses that we walk into here, we have paneling and flower wallpaper, and I'm sure you have the same
My
too.
favorite, the crushed
Yeah.
velvet furniture.
I haven't seen too much shag carpeting lately, so that's kind of good. At least that's most of that's been gone.
I hear it's
But
coming back in.
oh God, no. But and just knowing it's their memories, the people who still are able to remember, it's their memories. And what that little pig sitting on the counter is something to them. And
Oh,
then,
100%.
yeah,
There was the kid, so some past clients of mine had called and said, and and this is the other thing that you have to get yourself educated in being able to talk to kids that are inheriting property and going to sell it. And so this family had been talking to me, and mom was really sick. And of course, the property was in a trust. And I said, well, she said, well, she's not doing great, and we almost have the house cleaned out. And I'm like, and this is, I mean, but this is just it's a morbid question, but you have to be gentle in how you ask it. And I said, but wouldn't it just be better to wait? I said, because there's no mortgage on the house.
right.
You're taking your time cleaning it out. In California, for tax purposes, the heirs want that, they want that value from when mom passes. And I don't know a
Yeah, that,
nicer way to say that, but just from a tax purpose for that situation, it's better for them. So they did do that. And about 3 months after mom passed, then I finally got into the house, and it was interesting because they're like, we've been cleaning out so much, and there's still this furniture left in the house. And I said, you know what? I said, I have an idea, because the mom and dad were known for entertaining. And everybody on the block, it was all in this living room, and they had this big bay window, and the mom had made these two custom couches that were kind of almost like arches with angles on them. So it was almost like if you put it together, it'd almost be like an octagon. And then she had this giant heavy glass table and these crushed orange velvet chairs. And then in the dining room where she always had her friends over for cards, it looked like right out of Florida Golden Girls with the turquoise and pink plushy chairs and stuff. And I said,
yeah.
I'll tell you what I want to do. I said, leave all the silk flowers, because her mom did everything with silk flowers. Leave all that stuff there. Give me a week, come back in a week, and I'm going to do something special for your mom. So I rearranged all the furniture so the furniture looked like it was right out of Mad Men, and crushed orange chairs and everything. Moved some paintings around, took her Golden Girls furniture and rearranged that, set the table in the backyard, put a bunch of silk flowers in little jars. And when they came in, they're like, oh my gosh, my mom would have loved this.
Uh,
And it's just like, don't go in and want to rip everything apart to
Think
paint
about
everything white. Stop doing that. You don't need to do that. And people came into the open house and were like, this is the coolest furniture ever.
different
And we sold it with
generation
all
and
the furniture. And it was respect for mom. It
right.
was respect for the family. And you have to get to a point where you can't think about it's somebody that just has a checkbook that's going to pay for all this gorgeous staging.
It's not transactional. This is not a transaction. It's not. It's going to, you just can't look at it like, okay, I'm going to sell this house and go on to the next. Because that relationship that you establish with that family, hopefully they also appreciate what you did, which it sounded like they did. And so whether they, and I know I get the best compliments, and it's nice to hear it every once in a while because sometimes we don't hear
It is
enough that
nice to
we
hear it every
actually,
once in a while.
yeah, do a good job. And the respect seems to come from the older person of how much they appreciate how much we've done for them. And then now that they're respecting what we did for their parents. Didn't know it would take that much, even though they're bickering back and forth and everything.
There is that, but even if there's somebody that listens to this and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to work with all these seniors." But if
Yeah,
you just took the approach that we are talking about that's necessary for this older generation and you pivoted that to any seller, I do the same thing for all my sellers
yeah,
because it's to them it's not transactional either because they're just quicker at getting it and they may not be quite as attached, so you can speed it up a little bit, you can be, you can be a little bit, I don't know, I don't think I'm harsher or faster with any of my clientele. I think that it's just, I just really want to, I need to get on the same page with them because when you have those deals and you say stuff and you're like, oh god, I really shouldn't have said it that way, and then it just, or you didn't explain something the right way and then they're kind of bugged by it. I very rarely have that happen anymore.
yeah.
So
It's the
it's
experience.
just training
Yeah.
yourself. It's just really training yourself to listen and talk about them, not at them, and not about yourself.
I, oh my God, I got one of those crazy stories. Couple gay
Tell me
guys.
crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Couple gay guys. 4 weekends. These guys, we've looked, they were out of town, so they were looking to buy their second home. And they were, oh, come down. First weekend, let's see 8 to 10 houses. They were taking pictures of houses they didn't even care about. I said, you guys, we don't need to take, that was my first weekend of meeting them and everything.
Yeah.
I said, so I'm just kind of bearing with it. I'm going, I said, okay, well, you really don't like this house, do you? No, but we want to get pictures. Okay. So we're spending like 15 to 20 minutes in a house that they don't even care about. So the fourth weekend, we're on like, oh my God, the 48th house or something crazy like that.
You're a better
And
person than me.
they were referrals, and I told my
No.
friend, and they go, "Oh, don't worry about it. They're fine." I said, "No, they're not." So the very, so after we'd had a few drinks, and
I'm
I mean,
not fine.
we got out to the beach. We'd seen a house, or we had one more house. We went and we had one more house they wanted to see. And I walked in, they walked in. I said, if you're not buying this house, I'm done with you. I mean, I just flat out said that. And they said, yeah,
Yeah.
no, we like this house. Let's go for it. Why did you say that 2 weeks ago in the other house that you like? Nah, no. And then they took this perfectly good house and they overbuilt it for the area. I mean, they ripped it all out apart and then put a pool in, and they had a lot of cash, is what they were trying to do, get rid of a lot of cash. And so they were putting it into
Wow.
this house. But it was just like the 48th house. And I was just like, I mean, we're still friends and they bought a couple other houses, but it was just like, you are going to buy this house or I am gone. I
Oh
was
my.
like,
And
I finally,
it's funny because sometimes that's what you need to do
I
because you build this relationship and you're just like,
relationship.
I'm just going to say
I
what I
don't know
need
what
to
else to
say.
do.
And sometimes when you are just honest, it actually works in your favor because they're like, I told someone, one client, I don't do a lot of buyers, I do mostly sellers, but
Yeah,
the
me too.
buyers I do work with, their referrals, and they're
Yeah,
usually younger families and they always have the cutest little babies. I don't know. I have great clients, so I have no complaints about my clientele.
yeah.
And the first house, they really loved it and they just thought, okay, it's just a lot. There's foundation, there's stuff going on. So then there was a second house they were talking about, and then there was a third house. So the second house, I said, look, if you were my daughter, I would be telling you, no, you cannot buy this house. This is a bad investment. Do not buy
You
this
don't have
house.
to.
And they're like, okay, really? And I said, yeah, no, we have to just, I said, pack it up. We're not, I wouldn't, I said, because when you call me in 5 years and
Yep.
I tell you this is what was going to happen, I just want, that's what's going to happen. And they said, okay. So they had another house and they said, can you check it on and get all the details for him? And I said, okay, I got the scoop. And he goes, what? And I tell him there's a tenant, you're going to have to take over the tenant. And I said, I'm really sorry to say this, but I'm going to have to tell you, you can't buy this house either. I said, I feel like the mean parent. I don't want you to, I really want you to buy a house, but you can't buy any of these. So we have to
Well,
find something else.
I've done that too. And as a broker, and agents come on board and, and again, as I was younger, I was going to show everybody and I was going to, make sure I could take, whatever. And now I go, you don't have to service everybody. If there's a situation going on and it's not working out, you can just, we have a whole team here. You can just pass the person along. They have a hard time
Right.
doing that. So I give them my stories. I say, and I've told some people, there was one I went to is very terrible from a racial perspective. And the guy said, I'm not going to live next to so and so. And I said, well, sir, I'm not going to be your realtor. And I walked out
Yeah.
and I went,
Yeah.
I couldn't
That's
believe it.
extreme. You have
And he
to.
was a referral too from a friend of mine. And
Oh,
I said,
wow.
what did you do? He goes, I guess I should. She said, I guess I should have told you about him. I said, I would not be here for that. You know,
Yeah.
it
And
was
it's
like,
just you look at some of these clients and going way back again, working with buyers, is
right.
these clients really like this one house. And I was new. I didn't know where I could push or how to push or whatever. And finally, the wife calls me one day and she says, Carl just wants you to tell him.
What to do?
And, here they are, these big, powerful attorneys, and they want you to, and I was a little intimidated. You're these big, powerful attorneys. I'm just the young realtor. And that just kind of aligned my mindset. And I think that no matter what, I mean, especially the senior clientele, they want you to listen to them and then they want you to guide them and show them what they need to do. And that's the same with every client. Our job isn't to open the door and say, this is the living room. No,
Yeah.
Sherlock. We know it's a living room. We're not all blind. So you don't have to point that out. But they want you to say, what's good about this? Why are you looking at this? Ask questions. I told a couple people one day, I was on a conference call and I said, here's what you really need to
That's
do. Spend an entire weekend with your friends, whatever you're going to do, and you don't answer a question the entire time you're with them. Every time they ask you a question, ask them or answer them with another question. Well, I can't do that. And I said, I do it all the time. How do you learn about somebody if you don't ask them questions? It's
I
kind
learned
of
the hard.
simple when you boil it down.
I learned the very first client were the ones I was telling you about that friends and kids got houses and everything. Very first took them out. I mean, this is my very first. I was sitting when we used to do that, sitting at the desk and when they would come in, I don't know, you guys, yeah, yeah, that. And
You know
so,
what they called that when you used to sit at the desk and wait because it was your turn? It's called uptime
yeah.
or
Oh,
floor
uptime.
time.
Okay.
Uptime or
Floor
floor
time. Yeah,
time?
floor time.
Floor
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And so Ben comes walking in. He says, he has a checkbook in his hand. He goes, I'm buying a house today. And I'm sitting floor. I go, okay, that's pretty good. I mean, that's my first day floor. First person walks in, did a few
Yep.
things on the internet, went and looked at first house we looked at, walked into, and it had a pink kitchen and it had this crazy fireplace. And I mean, it was just a crazy house. And I
Yeah.
said something, I didn't know them. They walked in off the street. And I said, man, this is a pink kitchen. I just said it kind of like that. And Diane goes, I love this kitchen. And I shut up. I said, okay, I do know enough about sales to shut up my mouth right now.
And this is the whole thing. My mom was telling me a story that she walked into this house and the floors were kind of this same, like dirt floors almost. And she said, oh my gosh, I can't believe they have these dirt floors. You're going to have to get rid of those. And the client says, that's my favorite thing about this house. And my mom was like,
I know.
stop sharing your opinion before you hear what the
You
client
need to hear what they
says.
have to say. And I know as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
professor, I used to ask a lot of questions, obviously, as students and stuff, and let them respond. He said, you need to, I know the answer. You need to tell me the answer. And they would get so mad at me because other people would just tell them what the answer is. So I said, I need the answer from you since I know the answer. But I
Right.
found that very helpful. And with seniors, I found again just being around just a few. Haven't really sold that many, probably as much as you have, but it's just understanding that it's going to take a little bit longer with them, right? You can't rush it. We're in our fast-paced society. We want to and it just doesn't
Right.
work like that with them. And listen to them. Just listen to what they have to say.
Well, the other thing you need to do, it's really important, find out their history. They like to share their stories.
They're
We have JPL and Caltech real close by. So you've got scientists and engineers galore up in my neighborhood. And if you know this person's a retired engineer, my one client right now is a retired engineer, not only from JPL, but part-time Caltech. So we have a
oh
spreadsheet and a color
man. Yeah.
coordinated calendar. And it's almost like I did it. Okay, look at what I did for you. And he's like, okay, let
Yep.
me, but what about this? I'm like, yeah, well, that's over here because you told me. So it's almost like we're
Yep.
playing with each other. And it's fun because now there's that relationship, but you should always know what your client does going in because
Yeah.
there's a different way you have to present because he likes the facts and the figures. And then she was a school teacher. So,
Right.
I mean, it's like massive detail with these people. And then I have people that were artists and they're like, isn't it
Yeah.
lovely? And you're like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
So
artist client is the artistic one because I'm the analytical engineer. And so I'm the one
oh,
that's like doing the artistic kind of stuff. But
oh, yeah,
because
no, I love
I had somebody make a comment to me once that because they were asking about the arts and things, and I didn't know enough about the community for the arts, and because I'm a very
oh,
sports
okay.
oriented person, and I said, you know, you taught me something, and she said, I'm glad I did because then I was able to go find people that would be able to help me. You know, we have a great jazz society here, and we have
Oh,
all kinds of
wow.
art here that I didn't even know about. So you're right, knowing more about them because then they know that you care. What is it? What's that saying? Is they how much you care about them? They don't care about. I don't know whatever it is. I've lost it for today.
I don't
But,
know. I'm too old to understand what that one was. Not
yeah,
kidding.
just well, hey, this has been great. I just want
This
to
has
let you
been
know I
fun.
appreciate the stories. It's fun. It's not a
Yeah.
like learning, no, step one, two, three, four, you do this, this, this. I think
Yeah.
just
Everybody's different.
talking, it's different. Just talking about it and how if you want to summarize, first off, how could people get in touch with you to be able to learn more from you or be referrals over in California, anything like that? How would they get in
Move
touch with you?
back from Florida, move to California. We want you back.
We have
Um,
very low taxes though, and we so
yeah, I don't rub it in. Don't
our
be mean at
insurance
the
very
end of our
high, but
call.
yeah, taxes is
Our
low.
insurance is super high too because we have the fires. So
Oh,
we're
that's
getting
true.
it from all different directions. So if someone wants to reach out to me, my name is spelled differently. It's Robbyn. And so my email is robin@com. So you can email me. If you want to text me, it's 818-388-1631. And just if you have questions, you want to move to California, you want to sell in California and move to Florida, we've got you covered.
Back and
And
forth. That's
age,
exactly right.
we don't ask how old you are. I don't ask how old you are when
No,
you come for my services. So you could say you're whatever, and I'm going to go, okay, cool. What do we need to do?
let's go. Yep.
Yes,
So, well,
exactly.
it's been such a pleasure today. And I've really learned from the standpoint of approaching people, and especially the seniors I thank you for approaching that topic versus everything else that you could have shared with us,
Sure,
because of
absolutely.
the expertise that you have. And thank you again. If you're inspired by these powerful women in real estate, you'll want to catch the next conversation. Click the video on screen to keep sipping, selling, and leveling up your game.